police say that Telegram...
Telegram founder Pavel Durov.
Telegram.
The Telegram.
I think a lot of people would like to ask you, what is the point of Telegram?
It's a good question.
To understand that question, you must ask this question first. Who is Pavel Durov? Pavel Durov, often hailed as the Mark Zuckerberg of Russia, is a tech entrepreneur whose name has become synonymous with the battle for privacy and free speech in the digital age.
I had a friend, back then when I was living in Russia, I had a friend and she told me that she was presented with a printout of her WhatsApp messages in the police department. So they basically intercepted and decrypted her messages, and she told me they tried to use it to blackmail her. So privacy is not something that is relevant only to business users, but business is most affected because they could be blackmailed.
When Pavel Durov launched VK, his first social media platform in 2006, he had no idea that his platform would soon become a battleground for the free flow of information in Russia. VK's popularity soared, making it a central hub for social interaction in Russia. However, the platform's success also made it a prime target for government intervention. The Russian government's demands for VK to hand over user data during the 2011-2012 protests against Vladimir Putin were Durov's first taste of the heavy-handed tactics that would define his relationship with state authorities. His refusal to comply with these demands marked the beginning of his long-standing resistance to government overreach. The pressures eventually culminated in 2014 when he was forced to sell his stake in VK and flee Russia. The experience taught him a valuable lesson about the vulnerability of centralized platforms to state coercion, a lesson he would carry into his next venture, Telegram.
So the idea for Telegram came when we were still based in Russia. We had this very stressful situation where armed policemen would come to my house, try to break in, because I refused to take down these opposition groups that I mentioned earlier. And I realized there is no secure means of communication. I realized I want to tell my brother what's going on, to coordinate whatever we want to do. And every tool to communicate I could use was not really secure, not encrypted. It was not safe to use it.
Telegram was born out of Durov's frustration with the lack of secure communication tools. Launched in 2013, Telegram quickly became the go-to platform for those who valued privacy and free speech. But with this growth came increased scrutiny. Telegram's commitment to privacy did not sit well with many governments, especially those with a vested interest in controlling the flow of information. In Russia, the authorities tried to ban the app in 2018 after Durov refused to provide the Federal Security Service with encryption keys. This ban, however, was largely ineffective, as Telegram continued to operate, much to the embarrassment of the Russian government. In Iran, Telegram was banned in 2018 after being used to organize protests, while other Western platforms remained accessible. Similarly, in China, Telegram has been blocked since 2015, even as local platforms with far less privacy protection continue to operate under state supervision. The common thread in these cases is that Telegram, with its uncompromising stance on privacy, poses a unique challenge to authoritarian regimes that other more compliant platforms do not. But you see, Durov wouldn't just feel the pressure from authoritarian nations, but democratized countries as well. Western media increasingly scrutinized his platform for the role it plays in major criminal activity, especially after the Paris terrorist attacks in 2015.
Do you feel that Telegram is in any way responsible for what happened?
I don't think so. They were also using iPhones and Android phones and microchips. Kind of misleading to say that we were responsible or any other tech company is responsible for that.
Now, this isn't just about terrorism. It's also about criminals, drugs, human traffickers, pedophiles. They all have access to your app.
When I was living in Russia a few years ago, all of these activities were used as a pretext to monitor the communication of Russian citizens.
Durov revealed on the Tucker Carlson podcast that the US government made attempts to control Telegram, saying, We get too much attention from the FBI and other security agencies whenever we come to the US. The last time I was in the US, I brought an engineer who works for Telegram. There was an attempt by cybersecurity officers or agents to secretly hire my engineer behind my back. They were curious to learn which open source libraries are integrated into Telegram's app, and they tried to persuade him to use certain open source tools that would serve as backdoors. I personally experienced similar pressure in the US. Whenever I would go to the US, I would have 2 FBI agents greet me at the airport, asking questions. Telegram continued to operate and grow to one of the biggest messaging apps in the world, but with the pressure rising and the walls closing in, it would only be a matter of time before the global powers came for Pavel Durov.
Yeah, we'll continue to do what we think is right.
Pavel Durov, the founder of Telegram and thought to be worth over $15 billion.
French prosecutors say that tonight the founder of Telegram is in police custody
for allegedly failing to moderate criminal activity on the platform, which has also been used by pro-democracy activists worldwide.
Some are calling it an attack on free speech. Others are seeing it as accountability for social media. French President Emmanuel Macron, he just put out this statement on the arrest saying that it was not a political decision, but an ongoing investigation. Telegram in a statement says that it abides by EU laws and moderation within industry standards.
The timing and nature of the arrest have sparked widespread speculation about the true motives behind it. French President Emmanuel Macron has insisted that the arrest was not politically motivated, but many are unconvinced. Given the broader context of government efforts to weaken privacy protections under the guise of combating crime, Durov's arrest feels more like a convenient way to neutralize a thorn in the side of the surveillance state than a genuine attempt to uphold the law. For instance, should Mark Zuckerberg be thrown into jail for his platform being accessible to child predators?
New Mexico Attorney General Raul Torres says his investigation into Meta found that Facebook and Instagram's algorithms created a marketplace for the sexual exploitation of children. The civil lawsuit alleges Meta enabled adults to find, message, and groom minors, soliciting them to sell pictures or participate in pornographic videos.
Pavel Durov's ongoing battle is emblematic of a larger global struggle over the future of privacy and free speech in the digital age. As governments increasingly seek to regulate online platforms, the line between protecting citizens and infringing on their rights has become dangerously blurred. Famous whistleblower Edward Snowden, who revealed the NSA was spying on everyday citizens, has spoken out about the recent arrest. In a Twitter post, he says, "The arrest of Durov is an assault on the basic human rights of speech and association. I am surprised and deeply saddened that Macron has descended to the level of taking hostages as a means for gaining access to private communications. It lowers not only France, but the world." Pavel Durov was released after 4 days of questioning, but has been barred from leaving France pending further investigation. His story is a stark reminder of the precariousness of privacy and free speech in the modern world. His fight against government overreach, from the early days of VK to the recent battles over Telegram, highlights the ongoing struggle to protect individual freedoms in an era of increasing state surveillance and control. The hypocrisy of governments that claim to defend free speech while targeting platforms like Telegram for their commitment to privacy cannot be ignored. Durov's arrest in France is just the latest chapter in a long history of efforts to silence those who challenge the status quo. The rights that Pavel Durov has fought so hard to protect are not just his, they belong to all of us. If we allow them to be eroded, we risk losing far more than our ability to communicate freely. We risk losing our very freedom to think and speak without fear.
But for me, it was never about becoming rich. For me, everything in my life was about becoming free.
Yes.
And to the extent it is possible, my mission in life was to allow other people to also become free, in a sense.